into cultural, business, and entertainment. We've got some real pros on the show this evening. With us is Jim Moody, a well-known actor who's featured in the current movie Who's the Man, and Holly Francis, who's co-producing a film called My Soul to Keep, which will be filming in Kentucky this summer. On this segment of the program, we have a real movie star on the show, and there's a movie called Who's the Man, and playing the barber is a gentleman named Jim Moody. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Hi, Gary. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. This is the first opportunity that I've had to actually talk to somebody who's in a current feature film, and I had the opportunity to see the movie, and I thought you were great.
Did you like it?
I did.
Good.
I did. Although the premise of oil under New York City was a little bit hard to imagine.
Yeah.
But anyway, can you tell me, first of all, how you got that part?
I was auditioning in a very faraway place, like on the outskirts of Philadelphia. I was a little upset about having to go that far to read for a very small role in a film that was being shot in Philadelphia. But the director, John Deming, was kind of important to go. John Deming was important to go be seen by him. So I gave him one. You know, when he got from the table, he said, "You're absolutely wonderful," and he said, "But you know, it's only like one scene, and I think you're too fine of an actor to just do this one scene. I don't want to waste you on that." So he said, "My relative is directing a movie. Wait a while, a couple of weeks, and I'm going to tell him about you." So sure enough, a couple of weeks later, my agent calls and says, "You know, they want to see you for a movie called Who's the Man?" I said, "Okay, fine." I went up and read for this part, and sure enough, it was a much better role for me. But I got this part because as one director saw me and liked what I did so much that, and this was what's really made me feel good, you know, it's like, I cannot use you on this one day's work. No, you've got to have a lot more screen time. So that's why, that's how I got Who's the Man. You know, I went to the basic audition process. I had to read for it a couple of times, and the director liked what I did.
That's tremendous. Can you mention a couple of the other films that you've been in?
Yes, if you can still recognize me. My first film was Fame, the movie. Then I did something called Fighting Back, a film called Bad Boys, which was very, very wonderful film. I don't think it got enough play, with Sean Penn. And I did a film for a man named Robert Towns, very, very important person in Hollywood. His film was called Personal Best, with Mariel Hemingway and Scott Glenn. DC Cab, which is a comedy. A movie called The Last Dragon, which a lot of kids liked. Lean on Me, I had a scene in that. That's another story, but I was supposed to do a lot more than Lean on Me, but somebody had a friend that they want. I mean, I had a great part in that movie, and someone said, "No, I want my nephew or something to do the part," so that happened. That still happens. Lean on Me, and I think that's, sometimes I do forget, but those are some of the ones that I'm really excited about. Bad Boys, Fame.
Who taught you?
Who taught me? My father, he taught me.
Why do you want to go to school here?
I don't know. Because Freddie went here.
Freddie?
Yeah, Freddie Prinze. He's great. You know, he's the best.
So you want to be an actor, huh?
Yeah, sure I want to be an actor. Sure I want to be an actor. Judy, top of the world.
We don't want you to perform.
Huh?
We want to see who you are. You understand?
Right.
Use your own experience. Be simple, be honest, but most of all, be yourself.
Be yourself?
Be yourself.
I'm God, see? And God is Puerto Rican. You got that?
Welcome to Rainford, gentlemen. My name is Gene Daniels. I'm one of your supervisors. Call me Mr. Daniels. I like that. Don't call me anything else. You've been assigned to Dorm C. That's our special circumstances dormitory for critical offenders. Your fellow inmates are murderers, armed robbers, rapists, and mental defectives, just like yourselves. This is a juvenile facility. That means you are not in charge of the zoo. We are.
almost like an honor. It was an honor to work with some of the people on my first few films that were so good to me. Alan Parker was very good to me, you know, and I learned a lot on tempering the technique that I had acquired at Juilliard, because I was in the first class at Juilliard, Group 1, with John Houseman, Patty LuPone, Kevin Kline were my classmates, and but to make the transition from Shakespeare and stage to screen was a very easy one for me. I had a lot of help.
So you really are a movie star.
I don't know. My family says so. I went back home for the first time in 10 years, and my cousin, and I'm in the newspaper down there in Virginia, and they told me there are only 3 people from my town, and one's a general, and one's a blues singer, and me, and they're talking about parades and stuff. I said, get out of here. Yeah, but I've done something with my life.
Have you had any television work, Jim?
Yes, over the course of the last 10 years, I was on a soap opera for about 2 years, something called As the World Turns. I played a very stern father who did not want his daughter to sing in nightclubs. He wanted her to sing in church. As a matter of fact, funny story about that, I was in Washington, D.C. doing a play at Kennedy Center over one Christmas season, and while the soap was running, I had gone away to do a play, and this lady, I had never seen my face on like 50 televisions, you know, like you're in a big department store and there were 50 televisions, and I said, oh wow, look, that's me. So we walked over, a friend of mine, and we walked over to look at this. It was exciting, okay? And this big black lady standing there doing Christmas shopping, you know? And I had a scene where I said, I don't want you to sing in the church and blah, blah, blah. And this lady took her handbag and hit me. She said, let that girl sing, man. Don't be so mean. I looked, and she said, I'm only playing with you. But she likes me. Let that girl sing in the nightclub. So that was my soap opera experience. And I've done a few television movies.
Jim, I know you've been involved in community activities. Can you talk a bit about that?
First, I'd have to say a little bit about where I come from. I come from a very poor family, and I lived in Bedford-Stuyvesant. And I went to Performing Arts High School, and I got a very wonderful education in the public school system. After graduating from Performing Arts High School here in New York, I went to Juilliard, as I said. And I've always, and of course now I look back over my life, and a lot of the people that I grew up with are no longer here. So I've always felt a debt to, I don't know who, not a person, but to a situation that really helped make me what I am. Regardless of my potential, I did have to have some help. So once leaving Juilliard, and after getting my scholarship and leaving Juilliard, I wanted to give something back. Because you understand, I wanted to give something back to my community, which I felt helped me. So I've been teaching since I left the conservatory. I've been at Performing Arts High School teaching, at first almost on a volunteer basis. They didn't have a job, I didn't have a license from it. There was no way to bring a professional actor in to teach in a school about acting. That's another story we can talk about another time. And I've also been working with young people. I worked at Boys Harbor for a while, and at this time I'm working with Rosetta Lenoir's Amos UB Blake Youth Theater. And what I'm trying to do there is to help young artists who have the audacity to believe in a dream, to acquire the techniques and some of the vocabulary and skills to make it in the professional world. So I work with young people, and I urge everybody out there, if you know some young people, get involved with them, because they have a lot to say, and they're very, very wonderful people. When you get to know them, they're not all bad. So what we do there, the UB Blake Youth Theater is a musical theater. And right now we have a phrase, we want to be triple threats. So we're trying to get our young people to sing, dance, and act well. And so that's some of the work that I'm doing at this time. I have my own company now, something called Totally Involved. We've just been incorporated, and my work there, outside of the work with the young people at Amos, Totally Involved is an organization that we hope will be just that. Totally involved with the artistic and cultural community in New York City, and we are looking for scripts, young talent, people who want to make a contribution in the business. I don't care what it is, poetry, singing, dancing, artists of all kinds, and we hope to provide a place for them where they can come and do their work and not be exploited.
What is possible for these young people as far as getting work?
Well, if you look at the movie Fame, you'll see a repeat of a line by almost all of the studio teachers, as we're called, the dance teachers, music. We all say that acting is the most difficult thing in the world to do. It's the hardest life you can live. Dancing is, the life of a performing artist is very difficult. We really, as a country, have a long way to go in terms of supporting the arts. In the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen that. Once there was a budgetary crisis, the first thing that's cut, the first thing that will go, are the so-called frills in education. And the frills are music, dance, drama, and the arts. Those things that reflect our culture, you understand? So young people who go into the arts, I think, are very courageous because they know that the odds are stacked against them. So in terms of finding a job, I'm sorry, you can get all the skills you want, but you're either going to have to you have to persevere, you have to hang in there and perfect your craft, but the job market is very, very small.
Is it even more difficult for minority actors?
Oh, obviously, yes, of course. Of course, I mean, of course I was a child of the 60s, and I teach now in the public school system, and race is definitely, it's still a problem. It's still a problem on this planet. It hasn't gone anywhere. It hasn't gone anywhere at all.
Can you mention one possible solution to the problem?
Education. Basically, if people are racists, which I have a big problem with, as a matter of fact, I'm in graduate school right now. I'm working on my master's at NYU, and the paper that I will write will talk about that problem. But education, if you are a racist, if you hate people, you're obviously ignorant. It's all based on fear. So you have to get education, and going to school does not necessarily mean that you're an educated person. Because if you are if your life is steeped in prejudice, you're not educated, you're not cultured, So I think the problem, the way to deal with that would be, one, to educate people, which would make them more tolerant, and the way to do that is to expose people to of course I have a prejudice here, to expose people to the cultural contributions of all of the wonderful people that live in this country. I mean, there should be theater, there should be on the television, the media should be showing more truthful representations of the people that live in our country.
I couldn't agree with you more, Jim, because you just talked about the mission statement of cultural business and entertainment. Basically, we're here to provide access for minority groups who are not adequately represented in the mainstream media. So I want to use that opportunity to say that I commend you for having such a complete career and for your community activities, especially on behalf of young people. And I want to thank you very much for coming onto the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gary.
On this segment of the show, we have a woman who is actually co-producing a feature film and also is the musical director of Amos. We're here with Holly Francis. Welcome to the show, Holly.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I think it's very exciting that you're co-producing a real feature film, and I'd like to know what it's like to do that and what do you have to do?
At $2.9 million, we're looking to get a very wonderful looking film. I mean, we're not... Hollywood features have advanced budgets, so here we're looking to cut a lot of corners, stay on budget. Oh, I'm forcing my director to stay on budget, and try to get in very tight shots, a very close rehearsal schedule, followed by a very tight shooting schedule. We've scouted our locations prior to going into this. We knew where we wanted to shoot. We contacted the Kentucky Film Commission prior. Once we knew where Ted Poston was born and raised and where these stories came from, we wanted to know if Kentucky was an option, and it was, and it's a right-to-work state. So they give you like a tax credit for coming down and using using the film companies down there, the locations, and they kind of do the work for you, which was what I noticed, if you ask for something, it will be done, and we sent away for it, and they gave us all the information. The most, I guess, expensive part about it is the talent, and then film itself. I didn't realize when you go into this, like, oh, we have to pay for that. It was the cost that you I didn't expect, and then the actual, I guess, giving birth to the script and getting it out, getting it solicited, sitting down with my partner Pam Jenkins, and doing a budget, and getting that budget under $3 million. Our goal was to get it under $3 million, and we came in at 2.9, and that was so that we could shoot union. We didn't want to shoot a non-union film due to the fact that we have friends that are in the union, and the fact that if you can, why not shoot a union film? Try. People in the union have to work too, that kind of thing. And pretty much we're going to be on schedule for the summer, and I'm looking forward to doing it and editing it and being there on location and haggling with the talent like Jim Moody and hopefully Janny Glover, and I'm looking forward to it.
Are you using storyboards?
Yes, we're using storyboards. My partner Pam Jenkins, who is the co-author of the screenplay, that's her job. Like, the part of producing is like divvying up the responsibilities, and I'm going to look at them, and we have the final okays as far as producing to see what looks good. We did a paper edit. We have the script down to like what pages where, what shot we want here, there, what externals we're going to do, what internals we're going to do. We're pretty good on the storyboards and all that good stuff.
Can you talk about raising the money? Are you involved in that too?
We were faced, at first, when we first finished the final draft of the script. We hope it's the final draft. We had a lot of opportunities open to us. Barwood Films, who was Barbra Streisand's film company, who later rejected it. We were an unsolicited independent. We are unsolicited filmmakers, and we were able to get into a lot of doors that usually unsolicited people are not allowed to go into. Where people were reading our scripts, we had talent reading our scripts, giving us letters of intent to do the film so that we could raise the money. We still have an avenue of going to New Line Cinema or Fine Line to get a negative pickup deal, which is where they advance you the money, and then you shoot your film and you come back, and hopefully within release and home video and pay-per-view and all the ancillary markets, you make a profit, which is where they have made their success. And/or the film that we're doing has I'm writing it, so it has a really neat soundtrack. So we were going to market the soundtrack as well to get us some advanced seed money. So yes, right now we are still selling 100 units. I guess it's now more like 50 units at $28,000, and hopefully we'll be there by our target date, and we can set up shop and continue to hire the talent from all over, and then go down and hire the final local talent, and then start shooting.
Is the investment vehicle a limited partnership or a private placement?
It's a limited partnership. Yes, it's more like a collective agreement, but it's definitely a limited partnership within our production company, which is Chitlin Pictures.
Chitlin Pictures.
Chitlin Pictures.
Did you prepare that document yourself, or did attorneys do it?
We did it. Pam and I, again, this is not her first attempt at doing a feature. She had attempted to do another film called, which she is going to do after the success of this one, called Sassafras and Gumdrop Blues. So she had already done all of the preliminary work, and through our contacts, my contacts at Reuters Television, her contacts, she works for Riviera Films here, and I guess you'd say colleagues there is Gus Van Sam, who just got a 3-picture deal with TriStar. So he helped. I mean, we've had help from people that are in the industry, which is the good part about doing what we're doing. And yeah, we have to label it a risk for an investment, but we're kind of, we have that glimmer in our eye that it's going to do well, because it's something that needs to be portrayed. I mean, we're trying to portray African Americans in a different light than they've been portrayed up till today. There still hasn't really been anything that's comparable to what we're doing.
Do you have any recognizable talent attached to the project?
Right now, we've gotten, Felicia Rashad said we want her to do some cameos. Jim Moody, who was just got finished doing Who's the Man, and you know him from DC Cab and Fame and Last Dragon and Bad Boys, and so yeah, he's gonna do one of the more, I guess I think he's like the lead after the lead, or one of the principals. He's would be Smokey, and he's like the local Undertaker shyster kind of guy. It's a great role for him. And then we're pending contractual agreement, Danny Glover.
So what is the story of My Soul to Keep?
My Soul to Keep is an adaptation of a book which was compiled by Ted Poston called The Dark Side of Hopkinsville. And I think in everybody's town they have there's a Hopkinsville in it, wherever people grew up. And it's about community, respect. There's a lot of comedy thrown in. There's bias between not only blacks and whites, and a respect between blacks and whites. They were living in a segregated society, a small segregated southern town, and everybody was fine. I mean, they had their problems, their ups and downs, just like anyone else. But it was different, I think, than people think about it today. It wasn't so. Everybody was more blatant about everything here, whereas back in the South, you just kind of lived your life, and it was, it was simple. And there were people that aspired for more. And in this town, Ted Poston's family, actually, all of the whole family went to school, went to colleges outside of this town, and came back. So we're kind of focusing on one summer in 1915. When one man almost bankrupted the whole one of the African American males in the town almost bankrupted the whole town. He saved up enough money to do so, and he did it by selling chitlins. And there's a love story that goes on between two of the youths in the town, and the female is a member, or her aunt is a member of this blue vein society that they had back then, where lighter-skinned African Americans were considered to be special. They were like different than the other blacks, and she chooses to go out with the darkest black male in town, and it's like her aunt every 2 minutes. I mean, when she sees this man, she faints. I mean, that's like Nick Zola, Aunt Nick Zola. She's just very proud, and she doesn't want her. She thinks that if her niece grows up to be portray herself as if she's white, she will have more than if she hangs out with this guy who's the darkest man in town. Why couldn't she find somebody who's more well off, or who went to a more prestigious university or whatever? The film opens up with scenes from Birth of a Nation, which is a strong statement in itself, because Birth of a Nation is a glorification of the Ku Klux Klan, which is in itself hard to swallow. I mean, going to like Rockport, Maine, and going to film courses, you kind of sit through that, and you kind of get very ill looking at the scenes that they're portraying. And we're showing some pretty deep ones in the top of the film, but it's all this town could do to try, the blacks in the town, to try to get the whites in the town to understand why the film shouldn't be played. I mean, there's like 3 stories going on at once, and it kind of wraps itself around, and it has a nice ending. And the way Ted Poston left his book, we really only used 3 stories of his book. So there's like a few other stories that we'd like to do, and we're even considering doing a made-for-TV pilot film with like a couple of, maybe a PBS type of deal, or a similar to. We call it a black fried green tomato. I mean, when people ask us about it, that's what we've been using. It's wonderful soundtrack, and just a very simple film that you can take the whole family to. Is basically what we're gearing ourselves for. Now, not a Sounder, not a Huck Finn, but it's got a little more juice than that. But definitely a family film.
Did you write any part of the script?
No, I didn't write the initial. I helped with the rewrites. Like, we sat down and I used my editorial niche in there and my writing flavor to kind of give it a more dated. And I knew Ted, so I knew his humor and my humor. I guess my humor was kind of molded by his humor. And I mean, I was 4 years old and I'm sitting up playing poker with this man, so we were deep, And I kind of sit back and did some of the rewrites with Pam as we were looking over it. The true flavor of the story, which is really community, family, respect, and a little racism, but not really, because it's we don't play that part of it. And we could have gone that way. That would have been the natural lean to go with the racism. We've had people tell us, "Oh yeah, you should have played up that racism." They would have given us the whole 100 whatever we wanted, But that's not where we wanted to go with the film. We wanted to keep it a film that you could walk away from and have a respect. What I'm feeling coming from media is that our children can't go home and connect with anything. And like I was saying about Posse, we were kind of, I guess, a little hesitant to even continue soliciting our film when we found out he was shooting 8 months ago, and we continued because we said, okay, he's not touching where we're not going into the same realms. He's also in the 1800s, we're in the 1900s, so we still continued to go on, and he's glorifying and just yet another Western type of atmosphere. It's more gang related or what is it not caballeros, but they're like bandits. He was, that's what he's portraying. The man that he is playing, Mario Van Peebles is playing. He's a renegade type of guy, and you can kind of find that in any other Western. It's nothing different, although it's a story that hasn't been told as far as African Americans are told. We've never seen black cowboys on the screen before, which is why I am going to run out to see it. It's one of those things where you have to support everyone, but this is more of the family life. This is more of what happened after that, what happened after, what did we do after we were slaves, which is a part of history that has been overlooked. It's not a fairy tale, it's a true story. We've been told that we could have padded it more, and we chose not to pad the script at all, and we're leaving it the way it is because Ted wrote it. My grandmother owns the rights to part of the estate, so she's not going to let us mess with it. Grandma, come on. We can just fudge that line. She's not going to let us touch it. So we're going to leave it that way, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears going into this project. So yeah, it's going to be done.
Holly, I think it's very exciting what you do, and I think it's tremendous that you're co-producing a feature film with that kind of a budget, as young as you are. And I want to wish you the best with My Soul to Keep, and I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.